Hello friends, welcome you all. Wishing you a very happy new year. I am Sundar from Symphonia Wealth. So the year has started well, but most of us are hearing the news about recession and many job cuts are happening and things like that. So what we are going to see in this video is how is India doing and is India really getting into recession? The good news is India is definitely not getting into recession. Of course, there are some pockets where we will experience some bit of slowdown, but on an overall scheme of things, I think India is doing far better than most of the countries, and that's what we are going to see in this video. So before we get into the year 2023, let's also rewind a little bit of what happened when it comes to the Indian economy, and there are some major milestones which have been achieved in the year 2022. The one major thing is we have become the 5th largest economy in the world. From a net importer of mobiles, we have become a net exporter of mobiles. From a solar energy installation point of view, we have crossed 60 gigawatts of capacity. Khadi India for the first time has reached a 1 lakh crore of sales. 200 crore vaccinations have been done across the country, and we are at one of the highest PMI data, which is the Purchase Manufacturing Index, which tells you the positivity of the Indian economy when it comes to the manufacturing sector and the activities revolving the economy. Vikram S, the first private rocket, was launched in India. So there are many important milestones which were achieved, and the year 2023 also looks better when it comes to the economy. Of course, there are a lot of headwinds here and there, but let's speak more about the economy and what is the projections for the current year and the following year. The chart which I have shown very clearly tells you between the growth of developed markets versus the emerging market. And when it comes to the emerging market, you can clearly see that India is likely to grow anywhere in the range of about 6 to 6.5% for this year, also for the 2024, which means we are one of the strongest economies. In the same period, if you look at the developed markets, most of them are either negative or just about positive for the current year, and the next year they are likely to be close to about 1% or so. The only country which is likely to supersede the growth when it comes to India is Vietnam. Of course, when it comes compared to the size of the economy of India is much larger than the Vietnam. So Vietnam is the only country which is likely to grow close to about 6.5 to 7% during the same period. All other countries, including China, will be growing lesser than the Indian economy. The next chart is the PMI index data of major countries, and look at most countries, the overall globe, most of them are actually heading downwards, whereas the only silver lining is the Indian graph, which is broadly consistent and it's not degrowing. As citizens of this country, I think we should all be proud that we've been always importing mobile for a very long period of time. Though we are one of the largest consumers in the world, we've been always importing mobile. But in the last couple of years, the trend has changed, and today we have become net exporters. Including the iPhones of the world are getting manufactured in India. So that number is clearly visible, where we have become the hub when it comes to manufacturing of mobile phones. Toys, which is a very simple thing, but we used to actually import so much of toys from outside the country, and today we have also become net exporters when it comes to toys. Another very important data which we keep tracking is how much debt the corporates have borrowed, and is it actually increasing compared to the GDP or is it decreasing towards the GDP. Fortunately, the good news is with whatever cleanup which has happened in the last 5-6 years, the corporates are at one of the best points when it comes to the debt. The over leverage has been actually cut, and from a high point of about 62% to GDP, the debt has actually fallen to close to about 48-50%, which means most of the corporates in India are broadly in a much better shape, and the balance sheets are looking much more better. The next chart very clearly tells you and supports the data what I have shown earlier. The banking sector, which actually lends money to the corporate, even there the NPAs have started declining. Of course, we went through a very bad phase right from the period of 2010 to about 2015-16, where most of the corporates borrowed money and many of the banks had to incur losses. But with a lot of cleaning up and introducing the NCLT and other reforms, most of the corporates have become a lot more better when it comes to repaying loan, and because of that the bank's NPA numbers have started getting better. Of course, still a long way to go. Even today the numbers are higher, but the trend is clearly on the declining side, which means as NPAs keep coming down, the positivity of the banks and the balance sheet of the banks look at one of the best shapes in the last 7-8 years. So how is the equity markets performed in the last 1 year? If you look at the chart, it's been broadly volatile, and most likely the coming year also is likely to be volatile. The last year, no one expected a war between Russia and Ukraine, and as we speak the war is still continuing, because of which there were a lot of changes. The oil prices went up, the inflation went up, and the interest rates across the globe started going up. All this put together, the last year was broadly a volatile market, but fortunately India was one of the top performing markets when it comes to overall returns, because most markets actually underperformed or gave negative return, whereas we were just about 2-3% positive for the last whole year, but there are a lot of volatility throughout the year. So how was the valuations when it comes to the market? The PE ratio and the price to book ratio, which we normally keep tracking, looks not very cheap as we stand today. So as an investor, what is the best way to invest when it comes to equity market today is, though the outlook for the Indian economy is much more brighter, but the global headwinds and the lot of news flows and still the war happening, the market is expected to be a lot more volatile in the coming months. So the best time to invest into equity market is when things are very uncertain. So we are in that kind of a situation where we are in an uncertain kind of situation, recession fears are looming, and the war is still not ended, and etc, etc. So the best thing is to invest through SIPs or through STPs, systematic transfer plans, so that you can actually invest in this uncertain period. So anyone who has invested in uncertain period generally have made money in the next 3 to 5 years time frame. So just continue your focus of continuing your SIPs or doing STPs, which will be the best way to deal with equity markets at the current level. Another very attractive piece which has been missing for the last 4-5 years is the fixed income. So we all know that the repo rates have been going up, which means as a fixed income person today you have something to smile on, because most of the rates have actually gone up. Your FD rates have gone up, your debt market rates have gone up. So even if you want to park money for a very short period of time, your returns are close to about 6.5-7%, which was actually close to about 5% 1 year before. If you want to lock your money for a slightly longer period of more than say 1 to 5 year period, your returns are as close to 8%, which means as a fixed income investor, I think the next 1-2 years is going to be very good to lock your money when it comes to fixed income. So with this, let me summarize. The year 2023 is going to be volatile when it comes to equity market, but when it comes to fixed income, things are looking much more bright. And more importantly, equity is not a 1 year or a 2 year asset class. We all know that. Fortunately, it is going to be, the coming decade is going to be India. So any investor who is going to invest during these tough times are likely to make a reasonably good returns over the long period of time. So believe in India and invest in India. Thank you for watching.